All right, welcome, folks. Welcome.
On the hill, on this hill, on a hill,
Yep.
on a hill somewhere.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Yeah. There's a couple church on the hills, isn't there? We get every
There
once in a while,
is. We get their mail,
yeah.
and we get their bills, or they get our bills.
Yeah.
So,
I think we're the only Crossville Christian school. We're not
Yeah.
getting that, but we used to be Willamette Christian School.
yeah,
And then we would get another Willamette Christian School's
yeah.
mail. But it's all one church,
Just different locations.
just different locations.
Yeah.
Yeah, different locations.
We're
yeah.
all part of it.
Yeah.
So, welcome back. You haven't been here for a couple
That's
weeks.
true. Yeah, there's a couple weeks that
We had
I bailed
Tim Davis
on you.
with us, Valor Mentoring, a couple weeks ago, and then last week we had Taylor and
Yep.
Pastor Matt talking about the outreaches.
Yeah, because our
Two
entire
great podcasts.
entire school went out on outreach. Well, the entire high school went out on outreach, but they make it a school-wide thing in that the middle school and elementary school are praying for all those kids and partnered with them, and it's really cool.
Yeah, they had some great stories.
Mhm.
Great stories.
Yeah, kids know it's coming when they're in elementary and middle school. They know when they get to high school they're going to be going on mission
Yep.
trips every year, and they start saving money and making plans. And
Yeah,
making
I was
it happen.
talking to a high school kid on Sunday, and I think was his second one this year, and he was just over the top happy about how
Yeah.
it all went, and had a great time. He went
Yeah.
to Orlando with that team, and
Yeah, some kids in Orlando got baptized. I think some kids in LA got baptized.
Yeah.
I don't know what the total was, but I think it was around 10 or something like that.
yeah,
Of our own kids got
pretty cool.
baptized on the missions trip.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then this week is Easter, this coming weekend,
Which
it's
means,
the big weekend.
yeah, right now we are in Passion Week. We're in Holy Week. It's
Yeah.
called by different names, but it means the same thing. It's that final week of Jesus' life before the crucifixion.
Right.
And
yeah. It's a good
And
thing to
resurrection.
slow down and reflect on.
I shouldn't say it's before the crucifixion because crucifixion is in Holy Week. It's in the Passion Week.
Yeah, typically in the
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah.
So that means on our calendar, of course, Easter, everyone recognizes Easter as, okay, that's the day Jesus rose from the dead. Everyone goes to church and says, he's risen. He's risen indeed. But we also do Good Friday. And then here on Saturday, we're going to have a family fun day. It's going to be pancakes and Easter eggs, but it's also going to be a few stations of the cross for kids to help them understand. What someone who maybe didn't grow up with a concept of Stations of the Cross, how would you describe that to them?
Yeah, growing up in the Catholic tradition, Stations of the Cross was a part of our lives. And I just remember as a kid, so the way it's set up, it's usually a permanent fixture in every Catholic church.
Right.
Both here in the United States and every Catholic church I've ever been in different countries, Latin America, Europe, there's always some physical,
Yeah.
tactile thing, and those stations are set up, the 12 stations, and whether it's statues or pictures or candles or something, but it's a very tactile, interactive thing where you go from station to station. There's a scripture reading, there's a thought there. I remember doing it, and it was powerful because, again, it wasn't just someone.
Yeah.
It wasn't a one-way thing. It was an interactive sort of a. And then I've been in interactive where there's actual acting, and it's a live
Yeah.
sort of a.
It's almost like you're in school and you go from like literature class to PE.
Yeah.
You know, there's
in a
one thing to
sense,
like
I
you sit in
guess.
literature class and
Yeah.
kind of absorb something, but
Right.
in PE you're up and you're moving.
Yeah, you're
and
up and
you're
moving.
You're using your whole body.
Yeah, but
And
the stations are usually designed to help you understand and then to help you feel. You know, to understand and to feel. So there's one where he's before Pilate. There's another where he is Simon of Cyrene is carrying the cross was another one. He's in his mother's arms and those kinds of things. And I remember as an impressionable young, say, elementary school, it was powerful stuff, I think. And frankly, I mean, that's a tradition that's in a Catholic thing, but I think it's a good thing because we tend not to slow down and reflect
Yep.
on the meaning behind a lot of the stuff. We tend to skim
Yeah.
the surface.
Yeah, it's funny, like even on a normal Sunday outside of Easter, you take the kids and they go to some form of children's church, right?
Right.
It's Kingdom Kids for us, but children's churches of some kind, and they have their own worship, they have their own word, they have their own fellowship.
Yeah.
But they also do these things called crafts where they're using their
Right.
hands, they're engaging
Yeah.
in it somehow. Because we recognize, kids need, they're going to have a shorter attention
Sure.
span. They need something
Again,
to do with their
tactile
hands.
again, yeah.
I think adults are really the same way.
I think we are.
Like we still need to get up and move and do something, which is what communion is on a Sunday. you're getting up and you're moving. You're moving towards the elements of the cup and the bread, and you're recognizing you're holding something, you're tasting something, you're engaging more than just your ears.
Yeah. And the Stations of the Cross tell the story again. And so I don't know if we can hear the story too many times.
Yeah.
Because every time you listen to the story, just like any other, right? I mean, some of us have seen certain movies over and over again, and we've read certain books over and over again. And but it impacts you different ways each time because you're different. You know,
Right.
you've changed. The story remains the same, but or maybe there's an aspect of it you didn't hear before, didn't understand. There's a light bulb moment. So
Yeah, there are some things in life you don't really have to revisit. If you've done it once, you kind of get it.
yeah.
But there are other things, like even a really good novel that's just a fictional story. You could reread it.
Right.
It's so good, you're going to get something new out of it every time.
Yeah.
And the gospel is so much deeper than that. So you can go back into the gospel every time. Because the thing is, even though the gospel is going to stay the same, you're going to change. And I was just thinking about this because we're going to do baptisms on Easter.
Right.
And we've got a number of people that are getting baptized, and we might have some spontaneous people that decide, like, I want to give my life to Jesus and
In
get
the
baptized. Yeah, right there on Easter. And whenever we open up and say, hey, you know, we want to do baptisms, if you've been saved, come and have a conversation with us, know what baptism is, and then participate with us. And inevitably, invariably, you'll have some little kids come sometimes and say, I want to get baptized. And you know, you're trying to figure out, like, well, you know,
How much do you understand?
yeah, how much do you understand? And because they're a little kid, and I always think, because I got saved very early. I was a little kid when I got saved, and it was a real salvation.
Right.
It was
you were, as much as you knew, you were
Jesus
all in.
really saved me of my real sins. But also, I had a very tiny little, you know, developing but not yet developed brain. And I needed to recommit that to him kind of over and over again. So every time I come back to the gospel, I come back with new experiences, with new brokenness and so I need to keep coming back to the gospel.
Yeah.
It's not a one and done.
Yeah. There's a story. I actually shared the story last Sunday out at the Kaiser campus of Billy Graham, who had some kind of an emergency surgery. And he tells the story of being in this hospital room, and he thought he was going to die. And this was Billy Graham,
Right.
in his prime, basically.
Evangelist Billy Graham led thousands and thousands to the Lord.
And he said, he said, what I didn't say to the Lord was, first he said, I thought I was going to die. I felt like I was dying. So he's talking literally. And then he said, I didn't say to the Lord, Lord, I'm a preacher. I've preached to thousands. He said, what I said to the Lord was, Lord, I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
And in that North Carolina drawl, he said, and I still need the cross. You know? Man, it's a powerful, I heard it audibly. I heard an audible. He was sharing it audibly. And I thought, that's such a powerful thing. Like, here's Billy Graham, who's preached to thousands, but in the moment of his life coming to an end, or so he thought, I still need the cross, you know? And so, what a great story. What a great testimony.
So I think that brings us to kind of the topic we want to talk about a little bit is, you know, what do you say to the person who maybe they don't even intend their life to look this way, but in the busyness of life and they end up at church once or twice a year, and those are on, you know, those big days like Easter or Christmas, or maybe someone has drug them, you know, church in between.
Right, yeah, we see it.
And it's not that they don't believe in God. It's not that they necessarily don't, you know, haven't asked God to be their savior.
Right.
But they don't find themselves in the tradition or habit or rhythm of community. Like, is that a possibility? Is that, I mean, obviously there are people that live that way, but what, as pastors, what do we say to that?
That's a tough one, isn't it? We encounter that every year. We there's a joke we call those kinds of people creasters. They come on Christmas and Easter because
they've always got this little bit of a hangdog look when you see them at the grocery store or something.
Right? Yeah.
Or like and we love
you don't want to make them feel bad.
Yeah. Goodness, that doesn't draw anyone to church when you make them feel bad.
Yeah, but there's always an element of I don't know if the word is Well, just yesterday, I had an interaction with somebody that in a public place in a moment, and they recognized me, and I recognized them, and we were talking, and I haven't seen them in a long, long time, and yeah, I got to get back to church. And they say it, I think, like you said, partly out of guilt or something or shame.
Yep.
Like I got to get back to church, and I always feel bad for them because they feel bad, and I was like,
Yeah.
listen, I'm not the one that you're having to worry about
Right.
here. I mean. I feel bad, but for different reasons. And but I think to answer the question, I don't understand. I don't understand the worldview or something, if you will, of how someone sees that. How do they see themselves, and how do they see, and most importantly, how do you see God? Imagine if we. In any other relationship, if I just saw my kids twice a year, or I just went to the, I had this large gaps of visiting somebody I said I cared about.
Right.
It just doesn't. It just seems so. It's just an oddity to me. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah, I think it isn't. I think it should be an oddity. I think it is an oddity, and I think it is compounded by our particular American culture of autonomy and self. That we just see ourselves as islands a little bit more, and that is considered even a virtue, like a self-made man, or a man who doesn't need help, or the woman who can do it all and accomplish it all. We don't see ourselves in a group identity very well. And we champion the standalone, the rebel, the lone wolf, those things. We champion them. We think highly of them. There are our heroes. But that's not the way we were created. We were created first and foremost in community. Even when he made Adam, he said it is not good for man to be alone. I'm going to make I'm going to make another one of these, another like this, and even then we were in the community of two, but in the community of the Trinity, because he's always been 3 in 1. So there's always been community, and when we try to do one and singular, then we're missing out on an incredibly important aspect of who God is.
And to be fair, I think I understand. I think I do. There's times when church, even as a pastor, is not. It's uncomfortable. It's it's I have to not. I can't survive as an introvert. I have to interact with people, or for the most part, at some point, even if it's shaking hands coming through the door. And I think for a lot of people that's a struggle. The problem though is if I avoid the whole thing because of that, I think it's the trade-off isn't worth it. That's like people who avoid marriage because they don't want to share their ice cream or something. It's like, okay, I get that, but the trade-off is terrible because you're really going to avoid something as wonderful as marriage because you don't want to share your ice cream or see your faults or feel a little bit of discomfort, because marriage can be wonderful and exciting, and it can be uncomfortable when I find out that I'm selfish, or I find out that I lack character in a certain area, or I find out that I need to serve somebody and I can't do what I want to do all the time. Back to the autonomy. And I think church is the same way, especially, again, like you said, this culture that, there takes a certain amount. There's a certain amount of barrier to get in the door, but I think that's small compared to the other barrier of getting past my self-centered living. And being an active part of a living, genuine community is going to take some. It's going to take some work, but the payoff, I think, is worth it. That's the point. And statistics bear that out.
If it's costing you nothing, it's worth nothing, and you're probably not doing it well. Right. So there is a cost to community.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's a relatively high cost, like you're saying, even if it's just discomfort, like we really value our comfort. And if it's the discomfort of, but just being in a crowd can be uncomfortable for a lot of people.
Oh,
there's some
I
people
totally
who thrive
get
on
it.
But there are people
I don't want to be in a crowd.
And then being in a crowd of people who actually ask something of you. Who
know you or want to know you. And
hey, would you show up in my life? Could you come help me move? Could you, watch my kids for me? Would you? Because in the community, there's an assumption. Maybe assumption is not the right word. But maybe it's fine. It's assumption, almost a contract in a way to say, okay, we call ourselves brothers and sisters. What does that mean? To be in a family means I can call on you and you
Yeah.
can call on me.
Yeah.
And we show up for one another and we care
Yeah.
about one another.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation earlier this morning with a staff member. We were talking about the challenge of getting men in life groups, in smaller groups rather than Sunday morning. And the challenge is just, it's palatable. You can feel it.
Yeah.
Because for all the reasons we just talked about, guys they don't want to, they generally don't want to be known. They don't want to unpack their stuff. They don't, women learn, I think women learn and grow face to face. That's the beauty and the wonder of a woman. Guys grow shoulder to shoulder. They don't face to face isn't super comfortable for a guy.
Yeah.
And so when I started a life group about a year and a half ago, I invited 12 guys to join it, and I didn't invite them. I just said I've got 12 spaces, and 12 guys filled those spaces. And the truth was, the first few weeks were hard. The first few weeks were uncomfortable because these 12 guys in the room were 22 to 72, wide age span, wide range of backgrounds, wide range of personalities. And it took, but once we got past the awkwardness, the discomfort, and that happened about week 6.
Yeah.
And then men started to open up. The results and the payoff was absolutely amazing. Just today, those guys that are now 14 guys in this group, we have a text thread and something's going on with one of the guys' kids, grown children, but everybody's involved. Everybody's praying because he gets it out there.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, pray for me. And he gives us their names and we're praying and we're sharing scriptures and we're encouraging one another. So before that guy would have been carrying that alone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're describing the shoulder to shoulder piece. I think we like to show up for a project for another guy more than just show up.
Yeah.
Like if I'm hanging out with a friend, we're going to be fishing or
Doing something.
Yeah. Okay. Could you hold this while I work on my car door or, something like that. There's something that's going to be,
Sure.
What's the project? We're just going to sit and talk to one another.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that. Show up for something. And I just think that's the way we're wired. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But the project can be the kingdom of God. Like, hey, what is this thing that we're in together? And it can also be the project of my marriage and your marriage, or my discipleship. Hey, how are you doing on that?
That's exactly what we see in our group.
Yeah.
We talk about our marriages, we talk about our children, we talk about our jobs and our call and our struggles. And I don't know who out there who's listening, but I want to say that's really important stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody can help me hang sheetrock, but man, but sharing my life and what's going on in my life, the really important, deep things in my life, man, I just don't know why anybody would choose to go it alone.
Yeah.
And not to mention that there's a whole bunch of forces out there that play against us, that work against us. And so, what I mean by that is that we look at just the statistics of depression and anxiety and addictions and substance abuse and all those things. And so that world out there is a dangerous and sometimes depressing world. And so I just think the community of Jesus, we're certainly not perfect. There is no perfect church, right? The old adage, because don't go there, because you'll ruin it. But I hopefully that we're a healthy community and that people can find a place of health to grow together and learn together, work together, play together, all those kinds of things.
Pastor's meeting this last week, I was reading to the guys from a Eugene Peterson book, and he was describing a conversation that he was having, because Eugene Peterson is not just, you probably would know him maybe as the translator of The Message or author of a lot of books, but he was a pastor. He was a working pastor. That was what he did. And everything that came, that was produced from that in books and everything else, even The Message, came first from a pastoral heart and his desire to care for sheep. And if you've ever want to read a story, he wrote a book called The Pastor that's about that, and how he was sidetracked from what he thought was going to be a life of academia. And he's got the brain of an academic. Right. I mean, he's a scholar. Yeah. And he thought that's what he was going to be. And then if I'm remembering this right, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it was somewhere in seminary and graduate work that he pastored a small church. And it was kind of this interim fill in, the blank kind of spot. And it ended up realizing, oh, this is it.
This is why.
This is where all of this that I'm learning academically actually
takes root.
Yeah, where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
But in the passage that I was reading to our pastors, he was in a conversation with another pastor, and the pastor was describing a man who was leaving his church, and he was leaving disappointed and frustrated at the church. And it wasn't just the pastor or that particular church. It was church with a big C, capital C, that they were not engaging in the work of justice, that they were, not as good as Jesus was, that they taught one thing and lived another. And he had real heartbreaks and hurts and frustrations, disappointments over the way the church behaved. And this pastor had written him a letter, and in the letter he said, "You are right to be disappointed. You should be. Those things that you're describing are heartbreaking, not just to you, but to God as well. But also remember that Jesus ministered to those things from within the community,
Right.
not on the outside,
Yeah.
hollering at what they were doing wrong, but he was inside of the community. His community would have been the temple, would have been the synagogues,
Yeah.
would have been the times of prayer and the times of high holidays and all those. But he didn't stand outside of them
Yeah.
and prophetically tear them apart, but he was inside of them, caring about them and participating in them, even while he was knowing that it was going to cost him his life to do it. And he challenged this man to be in the community, changing diapers, mopping floors, showing up in people's lives. And then, those critiques belong in here with us so that we can better ourselves, but they won't be of any use to you or to the church if you're outside.
Yeah, and outside is the comfort zone. I mean, outside is I'm trying to think how to put it and not be unkind, but it's easy to sit on the outside and be an armchair quarterback and say, well, this is what's wrong with the church, or this is what you guys should be doing. But if you're not on the inside, I'm sorry, but you're not engaged. You're just not. You're not really engaged, but you think you are because you have an opinion. Just because you have an opinion doesn't mean you're engaged. Now, if you jump in and say, "I want to help change this," or well, we should be ministering to the poor. Well, you jump in and help us start ministering to the poor. And I just think you look around at a church that is doing some of those things, and you're going to find again a healthy church. I think everybody's had the experience, not everybody, but most people, of going to the store and buying my organic carrots or my organic lettuce or something like that. And it's real. It's, and you take it home and make your salad.
Yeah.
But over the years when we lived in California, we had a garden. And so there's something entirely different about digging the dirt, weeding the dirt, planting the seeds, getting your hands dirty, not seeing anything yet, watering that, caring for that, keeping the bugs out or keeping the animals out. And then one day eating your carrots out of your garden, or your lettuce or your cucumbers. And I kind of feel like that's kind of the church in a certain way. It's organic, it's messy, there's a lot of unknowns. Right. It's dirty at times.
I love that. That's a great way to explain it. I mean, the apples you get in the store look perfect.
Yeah.
The ones off my backyard tree, the worm actually got in this one, but I'll cut around it.
Yeah, they're not waxed.
Yeah, this lettuce, you can see where a caterpillar got a hold of it.
Yeah.
The one in the store is saran wrapped and perfectly beautiful. But
but the fact is my garden is my sweat and toil in it.
Yeah.
And there's a sense of pride and like wonder. Like, gosh, I remember when I was just digging the dirt and now I'm eating the produce, or I'm eating the fruit of it. But I think the church is that same messy process, time and effort and watering and weeding and all those kinds of things that if you stick with it, you see mature fruit. You see fruit that remains. That's what Jesus said, fruit that remains.
So this isn't a conversation that we would normally have on mic. But I think we could have it on mic.
I can't wait to hear what you're going to bring up.
Baptisms are done. They're part of community. You do them publicly. They're purposefully public. Yeah. Right? They're not hidden.
Yeah. They're designed to be a public declaration.
Yes, exactly. That's what you find in Scripture. Even before, even pre-church, John the Baptist is publicly calling people to repentance.
Yeah.
And they are publicly confessing sins and being baptized. And they're not being baptized in the name of Jesus. They're just being baptized
Well, they're being baptized as a declaration of choosing to follow their rabbi. So
Yep.
sometimes another word would be an initiation. It was an initiation
Yes.
into what we were just describing, a relationship with a rabbi.
Yeah, the early church actually, well, Jesus instituted baptism in the early church, but it wasn't an unheard of thing.
No, it wasn't a new thing.
Before Jesus. But when we do baptisms, we put a mic in front of someone's face. Almost everyone does this in some way and says, tell me your story, or why are you getting baptized today, or something. And can we admit that sometimes the stuff that comes out of people's mouths is cringeworthy?
Yeah.
That sometimes they say stuff.
You
It's
wonder.
like,
That was awkward.
that's not exactly the biblical way to say that, or
Right.
you're saying that a little
Yeah.
off, or it's almost, there's just times that as a pastor we can cringe and be like, that's not the right way. And we do our best due diligence when someone says, I want to, Jesus is Lord of my life, I want to be baptized. Do you know what you are talking about when you say those things? But the reality is, it is kind of messy. People are getting saved, just like we were talking about earlier. I said, when I gave my life to Jesus when I was a very little kid. If you'd have asked that very little kid, articulate what happened to you. I don't know.
I just want Jesus in my heart.
I love Jesus.
Yeah.
Why do you want to get baptized today? I don't know. I love Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's process that comes along, and we don't always understand what happens to us at first. And sometimes the things we say aren't really beautiful theologically. Sometimes they are. Sometimes someone says something like, "Oh my goodness, like write that down. That was perfect."
Yeah.
But we are in a messy process of being saved.
And I think too, it's people have given different significance to baptism that is not biblical significance.
Yes.
For example, they paint baptism as a salvation experience, and that's not what it is.
Right.
It's really a declaration of a salvation experience. It's a declaration, just like well, I don't know if the metaphor plays, but a wedding is one thing. A wedding is a public declaration, but what they're entering into is the marriage. And so, but that declaration has, or that wedding ceremony has words that are said and rings that are put on a finger, or prayer, or something that sort of witnesses. There's witnesses, and there's a commissioning, if you will, of hey, now you're going to be together till death do you part. The two have become one flesh. But then they walk out the door and they live the marriage, which is an entirely different.
That is
thing.
It's an entirely different thing, and that's the piece where that's where the community part comes in,
Right.
Like
Because they pick you up.
You're baptized into a community,
Exactly.
into a family. It's maybe an adoption would be a good example. Obviously, adoption is an example because Jesus, it's used throughout the New Testament of what our salvation is. But there's the legal piece of now you are legally in this family. You have the same last name. The paperwork is done. But then there's the baptism of now we're going to sit down to meals together. Now we're going to
do life.
Yeah, there's like it legally means nothing to a baby. That baby wasn't thinking legally. They couldn't describe legally what happened to them. It just happened to them. But they can like be immersed in the family, which it's water immersion. When we go to another country to be a missionary, you have to learn the language, and anyone and everyone will tell you the only way to really do that is you have to eventually put the book down and just get immersed in the culture.
Yeah.
You've got to go out to the market.
Which means getting your hands dirty.
You got to stumble through the few words that you know, look a little bit dumb. You got to be immersed in the culture, and you can't keep stepping out of it into your old culture,
Right.
or you won't ever get it.
Yeah.
You've
got to assimilate and learn.
Yeah, you'll always be a foreigner until you're immersed in the culture, and even then, you're going to be an outsider, but you're going to get the culture. And that's what baptism is. That symbol of death and life, and you're immersed in something different now. You've come up into a different air than you were breathing before.
Yeah, and I think that's if there's a word like tragedy or the misunderstanding that we were talking about earlier is that you can go through a ritual like baptism. There's nothing magical about the water. There's nothing magical about the words. But what is powerful and real is the heart behind those words. I'm getting baptized today because I want to be a follower of Jesus. And John had his followers, other rabbis, but I'm going to be a follower of Jesus. That's really what baptism is about. So I'm leaving behind my old life. It's here in the water. I'm dead to that old life, Romans says, and I'm alive to God now. But to do that, God designed something called his body that we would be assimilated into and do whatever it is he wants to do in us and through us. And that's the tragedy, in my opinion, someone who just goes and gets baptized, but then they don't go on to the next important thing. And then what happens is, unfortunately, is their life falters, or they begin to fail or experience pain, or there's tragedy, and they can't figure out why. And the reason why is they've neglected the most fundamental step, which is to become part of the body.
Yeah. We used to do these skits overseas. You've seen them a million times, where we call it the chicken skit.
Yeah.
It's a silly little premise, but we would generally do it in a place where culturally, maybe it was a culture that considered themselves Christian, but people had never made a personal decision to follow Jesus and to be a disciple. And it was people pretending to be chickens. Well, why do you think you're a chicken? Well, I live in a chicken coop, or I like seeds, or whatever.
Yeah.
And no, that's not what makes you a chicken.
chicken.
Someone else pretends to be a car in the skit, and you're like, well, you're not a car, you're a person. What makes you think you're a car? Well, I live in a garage, and whatever. Like, that's not what makes you. And someone else comes in saying, praise Jesus, praise Jesus.
A big cross or something.
What makes you think you're Christian? Well, I go to church on Sunday. And the idea is like, no, church attendance isn't what makes you a believer. Believing is what makes you a believer.
Yeah.
But attendance and showing up in the community of God is what makes us adopted into the family. What acclimatize? Well, I can't get the word out.
Acclimates us.
Acclimates us.
Yeah.
To this new kingdom that we're living.
We learn a new way.
Yeah, you have to be around other subjects of the king.
Yeah.
They all agree who the king is.
Yeah.
And
someone coined the term "a new way to be human," and that's a great term to describe it. I said this on Sunday that we the world we live in and the life we live, we have to grapple with powerful things. Mm-hmm. I mean, marriage is a powerful thing. It has the power to enhance my life and bless my life, and it has the power to just crush me. Mm-hmm. Money and finances and resources, those are powerful things. And so God knew that. God saw that coming. In fact, that's how God designed his world. We have to operate with those powerful things. But if I'm just on my own making decisions, and if I'm just on my own without any kind of understanding or input or debriefing or something, dealing with such powerful things. I mean, you and I, we see this all the time, where people are trying to do something as complicated and beautiful and wonderful and powerful as marriage, but they get into trouble. But then they stay away from others. They isolate, or they say, "Well, I can figure this out on my own." And people get financial planners, they get physical trainers, they get consultants in all these other areas. Why wouldn't I get a trainer or a consultant or a manager to help me distinguish what's good and what is true and what is real?
That is interesting. I hadn't actually thought of it just like that. There's a guy online, I couldn't even tell you his name. I see clips of his show. And he's a finance guy. He's a young guy. And he gets the craziest people to sit across from him on a table and describe their financial world to him, and he just yells at them.
Yeah,
he's just yelling at them and telling them how stupid they are and the dumb decisions that they're making. And I think they all know going in, this guy's gonna eviscerate me because I know I'm being dumb. And I think people have that kind of an image somehow of, I go to church, I'm gonna get eviscerated, I'm gonna get tore apart. Well, I mean, you can find that church actually. You can go there. There are people who will, use guilt and shame.
Yeah, and they just to beat you up and.
Yeah, but in a family, like no, there are going to be people that are going to call you to account, but they're the people that love you. And he doesn't even know the person across from him, so of course, he's trying to get views.
Yeah,
but we're trying to become like Jesus.
Yeah, that guy with the finance program or the YouTube channel or whatever, there's an end there. I'd like you're running it your finances into the ground, and I can help you for a small percentage.
Yeah,
which is fine. He's trying to make a living. But man, as a pastor, as a pastor, I tell people all the time, hey, listen,
Yeah.
I'm not working on commission
Yeah.
here. I have no dog in the fight. Your marriage is in trouble.
I can fix your marriage, but you're going to have to bump your tithes up to
Yeah,
12%.
or I'm going to charge you $150 an
No,
hour
we
for
don't.
counseling.
Yeah,
And that's all well and good, but
Yeah.
all I want to see is your marriage prosper the way God designed it and intends it to prosper for your good and for God's glory. That's how God works in our lives. He's after our good and he's after his glory.
Yep.
But for some reason, people don't trust that. They just don't trust it. They think there's got to be a catch. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I mean there is one catch, but it is an incredibly big one. But it's not us; it's Jesus.
Yes.
He's looking for complete lordship.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he's after.
Yeah,
And that's not because he's greedy or because he knows, like, no, what the only way this works
it's the most loving thing he could offer.
is if you love and trust me.
If you bow the
completely.
knee and die to yourself, you're going to live like you never imagined. And it's weird. It's this great reversal. It's like,
Yeah, if you want to trust me, like, hey, Jesus, I just really would like to trust you to forgive me of my sins, and so I'll bring those to you. But my marriage, my work, my kids, my personal free time, all those things, like those are gonna be mine, and you're gonna be in charge of my sins, and you're good at that because your blood covers those. So thank you very much. And that's just not the way.
And you multiply that
works.
scenario times the millions, and what you have is religiosity. You have a religious nation that in their daily lives, Jesus doesn't intersect. So what's left? We're left with all these powerful things we have to deal with. We have to deal with power. We have to deal with politics. We have to deal with tough things. But if I'm not inviting Jesus on a daily basis, he's just like a little Jesus bobblehead on my dashboard. He doesn't really have input into my everyday life. And I lose. Everybody loses because I end up not doing things well. So it's sometimes all the way back to your original kind of early statements. It's like, it's a grieving thing. I'm sad because I oftentimes wish I could do it for people. Hey, if you would just seek God's wisdom on this thing you're wrestling with, just like the woman at the well, you've had whatever he said, 3 or 5 husbands, and the one you're with now is not your husband. Jesus can help you with that. He can really help you with that. When you're tired of that, when you're tired of going around that mountain, when you're tired of feeding your addiction, when you're tired of living on the edge of loss all the time, Jesus is right there waiting for you.
Man, when you say that, I have such an image of myself as a kid and my dad, and he's just watching me struggle on something. And rather than step in right away, he just lets me struggle and struggle and struggle on it until I'm
frustrated.
Yeah, until I'm over my own self on it, over my strength, over my wisdom, and thinking I know, and then he knows when I'm like, okay, you ready for help now?
Yeah.
You want to see how to do
Can
that?
I show you something?
Yeah.
Yeah. And why don't we
righty tighty, lefty loosey?
Yeah.
You're turning the wrong way.
Yeah.
But if you're ready to listen to me, I can help you.
Yeah.
Fix that.
Yeah. I just had a conversation just yesterday with a lady who I ran into her, and we don't know each other, but she knows I'm a pastor and I've invited her to church, and she's always, one of these days I'm going to go. And she was describing her life and just some of the pain in her life of a marriage that had failed at a young age and some health struggles and things like that. And man, my heart, I was like, God has a better life. I'm not judging you. I'm not saying your life sucks, but you're kind of saying to me, your life is not going the way you'd like it to go.
Yeah.
Why don't you just try to let go of this, this thing you have a hold of? Why are you so afraid? And that's I guess the $10,000 question. What am I afraid of in God's character that he's going to ask me to do that I'm going to suffer?
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? What am I afraid of that there's not going to be a better end or a greater reward?
Yeah. You've proven that doesn't work.
Yeah, you've tried this over and over.
There was this girl, I've shared this story somewhere before. I'm sure somebody's heard it, but there was this girl that came to Arkansas where Trish and I were, and she did this discipleship training school at the same time that my wife and I did. And she came in, and like in really early in week 1, we were a big class for a DTS. We were like 81 people. There was a lot. But you kind of clock her right away because she was different. And you realize pretty early, like, oh, this girl's not a believer. like she came to do this missionary training school, and she's not a believer.
Got in, yeah.
And a few weeks in, God got a hold of her, and I mean, it just changed everything. She was a completely different person than the girl that came in. And we started asking her, like, hey, how did you get here anyway? Like, why? What makes a person who doesn't believe in Jesus say, I'm going to go do this thing? And she's like, this is my parents' kind of last resort thing. Like, I didn't have any,
Yeah.
I didn't have any say in
How
it.
many times have we heard that
Yeah,
story?
my mom filled out my application and she wrote out a fake testimony for me,
Right.
because you have to like say
Yeah, sure.
that you're a believer. Said she wrote all that out. I didn't believe any of it. He said the week before I went, when I came here, when they were shipping me off and they told me what I was doing, she said, I went and told all my friends, my mom and dad are making me become a nun. Let's go party.
Yeah.
And she had the wildest week of her life before DTS, just, getting drunk every night and being and just doing all the things.
Yeah.
And because she, not knowing Jesus, she had this image of, well, my parents are turning me over to God.
Yeah. And all the fun is over.
And he's going to take everything from me.
Yeah.
I'll have nothing left when God has wrung everything out of me. I'll be a nun.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm not trying to make fun of the Catholic Church.
Yeah,
right?
but
that's
all the fun
her
is over.
words.
My life's over.
Exactly, yeah. And it wasn't until she got in and then was genuinely introduced into the kingdom of God, she's like, this is the life. Like I didn't lose anything.
Yeah,
I gained
it,
everything.
yeah.
And what I lost is stuff I'm so glad to leave behind. And now what I have in front of me is so completely different. But we have that image still, that weird, immature image of God. Even sometimes while we're in the kingdom, oh, if I really turned over this part of my life to him, then that's over, that fun's over, or that freedom is over. And that's just, he's not a restrictive God. He opens things up to us. He doesn't close them down.
Isn't it ironic to think of what if the strategy against me, what if the enemy in my soul, what if he doesn't, what if it's not hardship that gets my attention, but what if it's success that keeps me from paying attention to the most important things? And that's a whole nother side of a coin, right? Is that I could be going through life thinking, well, yeah, obviously you needed Jesus because you were a mess and you were a drug addict and you failed in 3 marriages. But me, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. And so I have this quality of life that I actually kind of enjoy, but I could be missing, something eternal life, something that is, I heard a guy ask a question the other day. He said, will I be happy in a million years? Will I be happy in a million years? It was a rhetorical kind of a thing, right? But he was couching it in such a way that there's a lot of things that'll keep me happy for this year, or 5 years, or 10 years. But if I'm made by God for eternity, I have to ask the question, is there anything that'll keep me happy for 100 years or 500 years or 1,000 years? And of course, we're talking about a life beyond what we can know and feel and measure here. So
that's a great way to get an eternal perspective. I hadn't
eternal
actually ever thought
perspective.
about that before.
And I think, again, frankly, that's our secular world, especially in the West, North America, we're steeped in secularism. We're told that life is what you can measure or see or experience or feel, and there's nothing else out there. So just live for that moment. But I think when people come to the end of their lives and everything I've trusted in fails me. And it will fail me, and it's going to be taken out of my hands. All my resources, all the money I've saved and earned, all the buildings I've built, all the titles I've held, all the championships I've won, all my conquests are going to be dust. And so at that point, what will my faith look like? Will I have any faith?
Yeah. Yeah, the only title that will last past the grave is saint.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that interesting?
No one's going to call you doctor in heaven.
Yeah, no one's going to care. You were the president or the vice president.
Yeah.
And that place today, like who am I? Who am I really? Am I? Oh, you're the rich guy or the beautiful person or the director or the who am I? Well, my greatest identity is that I'm a son or a daughter of the Father, the Creator of all.
Yeah. We're connected to quite a few pastors in town, just from getting together once a month and sharing and praying together. And it's interesting when you talk to pastors about Easter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, because they know, like, well, I'm going to see a bunch of people I won't see again for a year sometimes, and there's this almost, wink and a nod about it. Like, there's this, we're going to put on a little bit more production turn on a few more lights, or
special effects.
yeah, like Christmas. Maybe there's going to be a live nativity or something like that. But it's the other 51, Sundays of the year that you're really working in the rhythm of grace.
Yeah.
And we welcome and love everyone that comes on any Sunday. But the invitation is to more than just an event. The invitation is to a family.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so please come and
join us.
Join us Easter and every Sunday after that. This Sunday is Easter, and we will have our normal 3 services at South, but they will be very full, I will say. So I don't think you're going to find one of those services that are going to be light necessarily and have a bunch of empty seats. So come early. We will have overflow and extra seats out. We would love to have you. And then at Kaiser, we have added a service just for Easter to allow for some more visitors. So please come to that 8 o'clock is the one that we've added. Come to the 8 o'clock, and then
this coming Friday, Good Friday, we have just a service of reflection and meditation on the cross.
Yep.
At 6 o'clock at our South Campus, and so it's always a time to slow down and just reflect.
Yep. Yeah, that is the purpose of all of Lent, is to purposefully consider ourselves and our state without Christ, and mourn in a way.
Yeah.
And especially in the Passion Week, in the Holy Week, is to look at the cross. And on Good Friday service closes with Jesus in the tomb. The stone is rolled in front of the tomb. Of course, we all know that the stone will be rolled away, but the purpose is to let that sit, the pain of the cost of our sin. But come and join us. Don't be afraid of a purposeful mourning in a way.
Take a chance.
Yeah. Okay.
Good to be with you today.
Yeah, good to be with you today. We'll see you Sunday.
Yeah. Have a great week.